to Crime Divers. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jill.
And welcome to today's episode.
Hello everybody, welcome to the last episode of Season 7.
Yep, it is the last one in the season.
Yeah, last one in the season. Time for a wee break.
Yep, time to recharge those batteries and have a break from thinking about true crime.
Yeah, it'll be nice to actually just have a little bit of time off. So this episode goes out on somewhere near the start of October.
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll probably be off for the...
Most of October.
Yeah, pretty much October. So we'll be back maybe early November. But in the meantime, anyway, our Patreon episodes will still be up. Sorry, I meant to say that. So for our Patreon members, you will still get the bonus episodes you always get. Nothing's changing with Patreon.
Yeah.
So we're not taking time off from that.
No.
We've already
organised that.
We're in advance, so we've already organised.
We've recorded in advance, so everything's all recorded and ready to go. So it'll still be out as normal.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to join our Patreon, if they want to listen to our bonus episodes, we actually have, if I've counted right, we actually have 57 bonus episodes on our Patreon.
That's quite a lot. For somebody that's not joined our Patreon so far...
That would be quite a good wee binge for while we're away.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have a good binge. I mean, there's honestly some really good episodes on there, I would say. Some really interesting cases, and especially on our top tier, you get your mysterious one as well on top of that. And I mean, we've got some really mysterious ones on there at the minute, which obviously do my head in, but at the same time, they're very interesting to hear about. So
yeah, they are. The mysterious ones are mysterious. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and some of them we can't quite get our heads round, and we have it starts a discussion anyway, doesn't it, about what actually happened.
So if anybody is can't wait for a few weeks for us, and they do want to have a good old binge, then head on over to Patreon and search for Crime Divers, and you'll find us there. And there's plenty.
Enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody else, we will be back with season 8 in
November.
November time. Yeah,
it'll be like the start of November. I really should be organised. Actually, I've got my diary right here. Why did I not look at it beforehand?
That makes sense. Yeah.
So we are going to be. So the 3rd of October is when this episode is the 3rd of October today.
Yes.
So I think we're going to be off for a month because, So we will actually be back on Halloween. So we're actually going to be back in October. So we're not taking the whole. So we're back on Halloween. So that means I'll have to find the Halloween case.
Oh yes, we'll have to have a Halloween episode for that. So we're back with a Halloween episode, and that'll kick off season 8.
Season 8, yeah. And as I said, for our Patreon members, don't worry, everything's just the same over there. Anyone wants to join up, it's patreon.com/CrimeDivers.
Yep. So back to today.
Yeah. So for our last episode, it's a Laura-sode.
It is.
So where in the world are we?
We are in America.
And what's the name of your episode?
It is called The Boy in the Box.
Oh.
So
can we just stop recording because
trigger warning, it is about obviously a young boy.
Which we realise that
because it gives it away in the title.
Yeah, can we just switch off now?
No, you have to listen to the last episode of the season.
Right. Okay then. So should we dive in?
Yeah, let's dive in. So it was the 25th of February 1957. So we're a wee bit back
in time.
I haven't done a back one for a while, like an older one for a while.
Yeah.
It's been I've done sort of more recent ones lately. So we are back in 1957. And there was a young man who was out in the woods in a place called Fox Chase in Philadelphia. I don't know how to say it. Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. What did you just say?
I said Philadelphia, but I think it's
No, it's Philadelphia.
I realised that as I said it. It's Philadelphia. He was checking his rabbit traps, because obviously he was out like hunting and stuff in the woods, and he was checking his rabbit traps to see if any rabbits had been caught. So as he was doing so, he stumbled across a box, and inside the box was the dead body of a young boy.
Oh.
And he was wrapped in a plaid blanket. Sadly though, he actually feared that police would confiscate his traps, so he didn't actually report it.
Oh, really?
Because he was obviously so bothered about... I mean, I'm assuming if he was doing... Maybe it wasn't, like, legal or something, and whatever he was doing. If he was trying to catch rabbits, but he decided not to report it.
Okay.
So a few days later, a college student spotted a rabbit running into the underbrush, and he was aware that there was most likely to be traps in the area, so he actually stopped his car to investigate. I'm assuming that maybe, he wanted to help the rabbit if it got stuck in a trap, or he was obviously caring enough that he wanted to make sure it was alright, I guess. So he stumbled upon the boy in the box, but he was also reluctant to contact the police, but his conscience must have thankfully got the better of him, and he did actually report what he found, but it wasn't until the next day. Right. So he must have pondered over it for that sort of day, and clearly his conscience got the better of him, and thankfully he did report it. So, of course, the police went to investigate, and what they found was pretty grim, as you can imagine. They found a cardboard box that had once contained a bassinet, and it was the kind sold at a place in America that I quite like called JCPenney's.
Oh, yeah.
I would, in comparison to here, I would describe that as what maybe like a Debenhams was kind of like. That kind of shop.
Department store.
Yeah, like a department store. Yeah, I like JCPenney's.
I've heard of it. I've just obviously never been there, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, I only actually discovered it, not the last time, but the time I went to Florida before COVID, because my sister-in-law loves to shop over there.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was like, oh, let's go to this JCPenney's, and I was like, oh, right, okay, not really, but it was actually quite a good wee store. And Mum actually got a gilet out of it, and my daughter.
I hate that word.
I know,
it's a body warmer.
Body warmer, yes, a body warmer. And my daughter, she got a nice dress for her Christmas party that year.
Oh, did she?
And yeah, so I quite like that shop. So anyway, that's where this.
Thanks for that.
I know, so I'm not that anyone wants to know about that really, but I just thought I would tell you.
I was just thinking that I was like, are we really getting a shopping list of what everybody bought?
I know. Anyway, I like the shop, right? So yeah, but obviously instead of the bassinet, what they found was a naked body of a little boy. His hair had recently been cropped, possibly after death. Clumps of his hair clung to his body. There were signs of severe malnourishment, as well as surgical scars on the ankle and groin, and an L-shaped scar under the chin, or under his chin. So the police took fingerprints, and at first they were optimistic that he would soon be identified, but no one came forward with any useful information. I mean,
you think somebody would be missing a child?
Well, exactly. I mean, you know,
not like, I mean, like, obviously if it's like maybe the parents that have done it, but you should, like, somebody else in that family would be missing that child.
Yeah, somebody must notice.
Yeah, exactly.
That there's a child missing. And it's funny, I was just writing, because I was just reading this, I would say, do you, like, what I found crazy is that they circulated a flyer asking for information on the body, which included photos of the body from post-mortem.
Really?
So I've put in brackets, show Jill, because I actually took a photo of the flyer so that you could see what I was talking about.
So I'm going to see a picture?
Well, it's obviously... So, I mean, like, so this is basically what they've put out to the public. So, obviously, there's, like, pictures of his, like, angles of his face. Obviously, there's, like, description there, and then that's, like, his body and, like, his legs and stuff. So, obviously, I know for the benefit, like, nobody else can see this, but, I mean, you can Google that and find it. But I just found it really strange that in this day and age you would not have that.
No, I'm really surprised that they've done that. I can maybe understand putting his face, so for identification purposes, and the face doesn't look too bad, yeah. But of the actual body, yeah, I think that's very strange.
There's a description. I mean, obviously in that there was a lot of writing there. There's a description of obviously him and how he's found and all that sort of stuff, and I just thought in this day and age, like, you would never get that kind of information circulated to the public if they didn't know who somebody was. So it just shows you like, how differently maybe, you know, back.
I don't like that.
This is like, no, well, see, I don't like it either, because when I saw that I thought, oh, that's a bit like there's no dignity for
exactly
the boy.
That's what I was just going to say. That poor boy's dignity is just, imagine having his, you know, a dead body, like, for everybody to see. I find that quite disrespectful. Like,
yeah, I mean, obviously, in my personal experience, I've never come across another case where I think I've read anything like that a post-mortem picture's been released. I mean, might be wrong. There might have been in other cases. I don't think,
but in other cases, but I don't think any cases that we've
not that I done. No. So that's why I was quite shocked when I saw that, and I thought, oh my god, that's just something that now you definitely wouldn't see that now.
Maybe we're naive and maybe they did that a lot. Maybe that was normal.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It just struck me as like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't expect to see that.
It's not what you want to see. I mean, it's bad enough to know that there's a little boy who's died, but to actually see pictures of that, that's awful.
I know they obviously want to identify the boy, because at this point they
I
don't
get
know who he
that,
is,
but as I said, it could have just been of the face.
Well, yeah, I mean, there could have maybe been, I mean, obviously, you know, back in those days, there wouldn't have been, like, technology where they could create, like, a picture, I guess, so that you have to go in the actual pictures, but I found it's just horrible, especially for the boy, you know, let's say, but, I mean...
Totally agree with you there.
Yeah, so let's say, so the flyer included photos of the body from the post-mortem and details, like the cause of death, and the cause of death was said that was due to head injuries. Evidence found at the crime scene, which was a man's cloth, and as I was just saying, you just wouldn't have that kind of information or graphic photo printed now, and police would probably keep that close to their chests as well, because in a lot of cases, like they they'll not tell you all the details because
to try and
find the killer. Yeah, I mean, like, because obviously there might be details that the killer would know
that nobody else
but they
would
don't
know,
release that to the public, or maybe like a witness that, well, yes, they must be a genuine witness because they've seen something. So nowadays you wouldn't get every single piece of information like that released. Yeah, let's say, they might release those sorts of things, like maybe if a person's been charged and convicted. I still don't think you see postmortems and stuff, but so the case actually attracted quite a lot of media attention in Philadelphia and the Delaware Valley, and it was actually the Philadelphia Inquirer, so newspaper, who printed 400,000 flyers depicting the boy. It was included in every gas bill in Philadelphia, so I'm assuming everyone must get their gas bill by post.
Yeah.
And
did you just say, I'm assuming? Do you not remember getting your gas bill by post?
No, it's all online now, isn't it?
And here's me thinking you're old.
Yeah, I'm old.
But you're obviously not that old if you don't remember gas bills in the post.
Well, yeah, I do, but I mean... I don't know. Like, anyway.
I remember getting bills in the post because I remember you got a brown envelope. Yeah. And even to this day, John will go, oh no, what's that? If he sees a brown envelope, he'll be like, oh, that'll be a bill. And I'm like, John, we don't get bills in the post anymore.
It's very rare, isn't it?
Everything's just done by direct debit and it just comes off automatically now. We don't get bills in the post.
No, that's true, you're true. I didn't know that. I've obviously just written it like that, but But anyway, so yeah, it was a newspaper that printed 400 flyers with this post-mortem picture. Right. So everybody, when they got their gas bill, they also got a flyer.
Imagine getting that in your gas bill.
Well, I know.
Because you wouldn't be expecting it.
Well, exactly. I mean, unless that was something that they happened regularly, but I don't think it did. Sure.
When you open your gas bill, you expect to see your gas bill.
Yeah.
And you don't expect to see... it might be normal to get other flyers for stuff, but...
But anyway, when they got their gas bills, they also got this picture.
No, I did like that.
Yeah. So the crime scene was combed like over and over again by 270 police academy recruits.
Oh.
Which, I get they need experience and stuff, but I mean, for just academy recruits, I mean, they might not be fully experienced.
Well,
I know they do.
They need the experience.
But to be fair to them, they did discover a man's blue corduroy cap, a child's scarf, and a man's white handkerchief with the letter G in the corner, but all those clues led to nowhere, so it didn't bring them any closer to find out, one, who the boy was, and two, like, who's obviously killed him.
Who's done this,
yeah. So another creepy thing that they did, which wouldn't happen nowadays, is that they actually released another picture of the boy, and this time he was fully dressed and in a sitting position in the hope that somebody might recognise him.
So they've dressed him and sat him up and posed him for a photograph? No.
Which in some ways I would kind of maybe that bit more than the post-mortem.
Well, yeah, I think that would be actually better than the post-mortem one, but still, that's... No, I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I know it.
I know they're trying to find...
Yeah, I mean, and this is back in the day when they've not got things, like social media, obviously.
Maybe back in the day we wouldn't have thought so much about it.
I don't think we would have. I mean, I now we think that's such a shocking thing, but I reckon back in those days you probably didn't maybe think of it as... I mean, I'm sure it still wasn't nice to see, but...
Well, hopefully it would be something that didn't occur very often.
Well, that's true as well, yeah. So I don't know. So yeah, so they released that photo, but again, like, no one came forward, so nobody's missing this boy.
Yeah, that's
like,
very strange.
Which is very strange, isn't it? I mean, surely someone must know who he is, even if it's not his family, like the people that are.
How old is he? You never said how old he was, did you?
Oh, I do later. I do in a bit. Sorry, I do get to that. I do.
Because I was going to say.
Yeah, I just realised I hadn't told you, but no, I do get to it because it's literally.
If he goes to school and stuff like that, is it
a wee paragraph on it where he's not as old as that. In fact, to be fair, I could just tell you, he was 4. He was 4 years old.
4 years old. Sorry, 4-year-olds go to nursery and stuff like that. Just neighbours and.
Yeah.
So you think somebody would be missing
or noticed that he's not around. I mean, bit unless.
Or maybe if they hadn't even noticed, maybe saw the picture and then went, oh wait a minute, that looks like.
I recognise it, especially if everybody's got it with a gas bill and they've got a flyer in the area. It's.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lily. The new dog has just farted.
Oh, lovely.
And I was lying next to her with my nose quite near her butt. So I just jumped up and Laura just looked at me as if to go, what the fuck is happening right now?
Have you just inhaled it?
Yeah, it just went right up my nose.
Lily. She's just lying there like, I'm not bothered.
She does not care, but sorry about that. That was really gross. But
anyway, you can control yourself now because I need to get back to the case.
I can control myself. Tell her to control herself.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, so, like, you know, how could he, how could this little boy go missing and be dead and not one person knew who he was?
That's weird, isn't it?
I know. So, sadly, the case actually went cold for over 40 years.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. So, like, for 40 years.
So, for 40 years, nobody missed this child?
Exactly. I mean...
How?
So, as we know, in that time, obviously, forensic technology has evolved.
Yeah.
So, in 1998, which was 41 years later, the boy's body was actually exhumed for the purpose of extracting DNA, which was obtained from one of his teeth.
You're having trouble with your words today, are you?
Haven't I? Well, no, because I wrote it as tooth, but I'm like, that doesn't even sound right. Teeth sounds right. But sadly, they still couldn't determine the identity.
Right.
And in 2016, the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children released a forensic facial reconstruction of the boy and then added him to their database, and his body was again exhumed in 2019 to retrieve additional DNA samples.
So that was only 4 years ago?
Yeah. There you go, that's it.
No, it's not.
No, that's not it. So finally, in November, just 2022. So just last
year.
November, 65 years after the boy was found, the Philadelphia Police Department announced that they had identified the boy through the use of genetic testing and investigative genetic genealogy. God, that was a mouthful.
Do you want to try that again?
No. You got the point. So on the 8th of December last year, so 2022, the boy was publicly identified as 4-year-old Joseph Augustus Zarelli.
Okay.
He had been born on the 13th of January 1953. So investigators were able to eventually identify him after a cousin uploaded DNA to a public database. So investigators then encouraged the person's mother, who was, because obviously the original cousin was like however many cousins down the line.
Right, yeah.
But that cousin, so their mother was a first cousin of Joseph.
Right.
So they encouraged her to submit a genetic profile to GED Match, which she did.
Right.
And that allowed investigators to identify Joseph's parents. And they were Augustus John Zarelli and Mary Elizabeth Plunkett. But sadly, they were both confirmed as deceased, so there was no way of questioning them, like on, well, what happened to
So you said sadly, does that mean they didn't do it? Because if they did do it, then there's no sadly about it.
Well,
that they're dead.
Well, we don't know who did it.
Really? You're not supposed to do unsolved ones. That's where the mistake is.
I know. Well, when I realised it was, I was like, but I was too committed to doing it, so it was just tough. So they were confirmed as dead, so there was no way of obviously questioning because wonder, well,
why did they not report their child
why
missing?
have they not reported their son missing? Like, what the hell happened? So this was actually prior to Joseph being identified, there had been some theories about who he was, where he was from, and what could have happened to him. So I do have a few theories.
Right.
So one theory took them to a foster home, which a psychic had told an employee of the medical examiner's office. Got to start that again.
Rewind.
Start again. One theory took them to a foster home, which a psychic had told an employee of the medical examiner's office, Remington Bristol, about. So that was the man, Remington Bristol.
Right.
So the psychic in Bristol went to the foster home to investigate, and they did find a bassinet. Remember the bassinet, similar to the one sold at JCPenney. And the box that Joseph was found. That was the box that Joseph was found in. They also discovered blankets hanging on a clothesline that were similar to the one in which Joseph's body was wrapped in.
Right.
And Bristol, he actually had believed that Joseph was the son of the stepdaughter of the man who ran the foster home, and they had disposed of his body so the stepdaughter would not be exposed as an unwed mother. That was obviously frowned upon in those days, but I would have thought if that was the case, they would have got rid of Joseph as a baby.
Well, yeah, like...
And not let him get to 4 years old.
It's 4, yeah.
But anyway, police established that all the children had been there at the time. All the children that had been there at the time were accounted for, and that family were unlikely to have been involved.
Right.
So that was dismissed.
Okay.
Another theory came to light in February 2002 by a woman identified only as Martha or M. She accused her mother of acquiring and killing Joseph. Police considered her story to be plausible, but she also had a history of mental illness. So could she...
Her or the mother?
The woman that made the claim about her mother.
Okay.
So could she really be that reliable?
Yeah.
She said that her mother and father bought Joseph from his birth parents in the summer of 1954, after which he was beaten to death and his body left in a box outside of town, which does kind of fit.
But she would have known that if she'd seen a flyer.
Very true. Which obviously didn't come for her, but police couldn't verify her story though. So obviously they couldn't see whether she was telling the truth or not. It sounded plausible because of that, but they couldn't.
But if they've given out all the details on the flyers, then people are going to know how he was found and all that. So it's going to be easy for people to come forward and say, well, this is where he was found. He was found in this box. Because all that information was there.
Actually, you're right. I never thought of it like that. Yeah. So I mean, as I said, she did have a history of mental illness. So that's
why the police leave things out, so that if somebody comes up with something that hasn't been released, then they'll be like, right.
And neighbours, obviously, who had access to Martha's house, because I guess like neighbours must have been, as they did back in those days. They stated, they stated that they denied, that there had been a young boy living there and dismissed Martha's claims as ridiculous. So the neighbours basically said, no, that's not true. Like, this family never had a son there. So, obviously, again. There was another theory by forensic artist Frank Bender, and his theory was that Joseph may have been raised as a girl, and that was due to his unprofessional haircut, which appeared to have been done quickly, as well as his eyebrows being styled.
Excuse me? The eyebrows styled? Who styles a 4-year-old's eyebrows?
Well, that I don't know, but apparently his eyebrows were styled. That's what they're saying.
Okay.
And in 2008, Frank Bender actually released a sketch of him with long hair reflecting the strands, because obviously remember I said they found like some hair stuck to his body and stuff.
Yeah.
So he had actually released a sketch of that, but again, just another theory. Don't know if that was the case.
I mean, it would explain why nobody was looking for try that again. It would explain why people weren't coming forward saying, well, we have a missing boy because it was a girl.
Yeah, because they may have thought that this was a girl. So I did kind of think, maybe if that is the case.
I mean, it does sound far-fetched, but it's possible.
Well, yeah, because they could, but then, I mean, surely there would still be questions about, well, where's the girl gone then? If the boy's not missing, then where's the girl gone? With the girl,
but there might have been a missing girl on the database. Somebody could have reported a missing girl, but they're not looking for the family of a missing girl. They would be there.
I'm just wondering whether, like, the family, like, if there's like the neighbours and stuff of the family, if they've thought that this was a girl that was being raised and it's not a boy. So when they've seen the flyers of a boy missing, they've obviously not came forward. They've not came forward because they've not realised the connection there.
So the girl could have been reported missing then.
Yeah, true. But there
was not. But they've never found the girl's body, have they?
No.
So nobody's came forward. Hey, see, you never could be honest that in there.
Yeah.
You're not looking very convinced.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So, but sadly, we still don't know what led to poor Joseph's death. We know he must have suffered some sort of abuse as he was malnourished and bruised. We know he died from blunt force trauma, but obviously the big questions are, well, why was he murdered? Who murdered him? Did his parents have something to do with it? Why didn't they come forward when his picture was circulated? Why didn't any neighbours recognise him? There's just no answer. I mean, there's nothing.
To me, it's like if the parents didn't come forward, then surely they must have had something to do with it then.
Well, I feel like they must have, because why wouldn't, if your child was missing, surely you would report them missing.
Unless they had given up the child at birth. They wouldn't know what that child would look like by now. So then that would mean...
Yeah, because he could have been fostered, adopted or something like that.
Exactly,
I mean, like say, because we've not got the parents to ask, and there's obviously not any...
But where's the rest of... I don't know,
we obviously found cousins and stuff, but I'm assuming that these...
But if the biological parents gave him up for adoption, or if he was fostered or whatever, then the rest of their family wouldn't know where he was either, and they wouldn't recognise him.
But then I wonder whether.
But where's the people that he was living with?
Yeah, because then I wonder like if they had done that. I mean, surely still back then there's not records of adoption or foster if it was done by the.
It might not have been done legally.
Yeah, it could have been done like just not even.
Just as you said, with the one with the mental illness, said that her mum bought.
Yeah. So it might not have been like an official sort of thing.
It might not be an official adoption. But still, where's this child? Unless this child was hidden away and locked in a room somewhere, he must have interacted with people.
Oh yeah.
As I say, just neighbours, family, friends.
Exactly.
If he was in an orphanage or whatever, like other kids, like
I get the wider community might not recognise them because at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know kids that are potentially living at the other end of my street. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't tell you what they look like or who they are or whatever because I don't know anything about them. But you'd think like your immediate neighbours are gonna know because I mean I know who lives in my immediate neighbours' houses pretty much because I see them going in and out. Obviously, if I've spoken to them,
you'll hear the kids playing in the garden.
Yeah, so you might not know their names or might not, even if you were in a crowded place, you might not recognise them, I don't know, but you would still be aware of them. So if they've just vanished off the face of the earth, you'd think you notice. And I think, back in those days, like I said, neighbours and that were all very friendly. Like their doors were always open, they were in and out of people's houses.
The kids would, I know, like, for instance, with our first case, Mary Bell, I know that was in England, but the kids would just play out in the street and the parents would sort of like be keeping an eye on the kids outside, so everybody would have their doors open, the kids would be in and out of people's houses, like.
So you'd think that
so I'm actually wondering if he was kept hidden, and he was, because if he's been abused, he's maybe been kept.
Because that's the other thing, isn't it?
Captive, in a basement or in a room or something like that.
Yeah, I never thought about that. It could be a theory of like, was he kept? But then, obviously, if his parents have been found, I mean, does that mean he was registered? His birth was registered then? If they managed to find the parents, or is that just purely DNA wise? I mean, do you have to be registered? I don't know.
There must be something registered for them to find them if they're dead.
Yeah. So I mean,
but just to me, right? I'm just thinking, if the parents have given up. Is it Joseph?
Yeah.
If they've given Joseph up for adoption, right? But it's not necessarily been a legal adoption, so there's no paperwork.
Yeah.
Right? So this as a baby, he has gone to another family. This family could have moved somewhere, and they could have moved in somewhere, and the people maybe not realise they've got a child, and they've kept this child in the house, and they've kept it for all these for the 4 years, abusing the child, and then they've either accidentally or on purpose killed the child and then got rid of him, and that's why nobody's come forward, because nobody knew that he existed, and the actual parents are thinking that their son is away living with loving parents.
Yeah, no, that's a good theory, actually. I mean, that could be...
it's probably completely wrong, but it could be something.
It could be, yeah. Well, it has to be something like that, because as I said, if you were loving parents and your child was missing and murdered by somebody else, obviously you're going to be reporting that person missing. If you've done it, obviously you're not going to report that person missing, but it's amazing that, as you say, nobody in the surrounding close to them has recognised it going, and then somehow, it's managed to get back to, that's his parents. So the adoption, like maybe behind closed doors, could have been a good theory, and that's why the parents themselves haven't been aware, because they've given up all rights to him. They
didn't know what it looked like.
Maybe they've moved
exactly
out of the area, or they don't know what it looked like, so they've not realised, that's our actual son that's missing, because we've obviously not had anything to do with him for the last few years because we gave him up. So,
well, that's frustrating.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry.
That should have been in my mysterious one.
I know, well, I did think that as I was writing it, but then I thought, well, it's me that's done it, so
you are allowed to do mysterious ones and put it doesn't have to be just my ones on the Patreon,
Well, it's done now.
No, well, yeah, obviously, because we needed an episode for the end of season, so there you go, there we have it.
So just to end it, the police have said that the case is still an active homicide investigation, so they're still looking for the public's help to this day. If anybody was to have heard anything, see anything remembers from back that time, obviously you're going to be an older person to have been around then, because I'd say it was back in 1957. There's probably a lot of people that are not around as well. So they are still actively trying to think it, and I personally just really hope that there is still a chance of justice for poor Joseph Augustus Zarelli, because he doesn't deserve to have just been abandoned in a box and killed, and
at 4 years old.
There's no justice, there's no answers,
and nobody's getting punished for it.
Exactly.
And there's a good chance that whoever did it might not even be here anymore.
Well, there's always that. Let's say his parents, as we know, are dead, so if they had anything to do with it, they're dead, but anybody of that age or similar probably could be dead as well.
Well, yeah, if he was born in 1953, so whoever had him would have been at least born in the 40s, late 40s or something like that.
Yeah, so could still be alive.
Yeah, of course.
Could
be like in their 70s or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, so they could still be alive, but I just, I wonder if anybody from that time, that around that area, still thinks about it or remembers it, or anything that might have maybe not seemed significant at the time, but things are advanced so much now that something ridiculous could have been quite important. And it's one of those things, you hope that there's maybe justice, but as time goes on, obviously I'm assuming the less and less chance there will be of justice for we've been over 60 years already, so there's probably not, I know it, like as technologies are well advanced, so at least they were able to identify him, because there's
I'm glad he was identified.
Yeah, I definitely was, because he deserves to have, has a name, and he was somebody, he was a little boy, and he deserves to be known rather than just a boy in a box.
Oh well, hopefully we'll keep our eye out for that one and see if there's any developments. But thanks to everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey, it's Jill. I'm just coming on here to say that I made a mistake in this episode. When we were talking about when we were going to be coming back for season 8, I said that we were going to be back on the 31st of October, which I had initially wrote that down, but then Laura had asked for an extra week off. So we're going to be back on the 7th of November. So it's only a week later than what we planned, and as I've said before, nothing's going to change with Patreon. Everything will be the same there. Bye. If you would like to follow us on Instagram, Twitter or Threads, we are crime_divers_pod. We are on Facebook, TikTok and YouTube, and it's Crime Divers Podcast. Our email is crime_divers_pod@outlook.com. Our website is crimedivers.co.uk. If you would like to join our Patreon, it's patreon.com/crimedivers. And if you would like to buy us a coffee, it's buymeacoffee.com/crimedivers.
And if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, review.